I love this format. I love that it's just like these bite-sized adventures. That's maybe how I would pitch it, is like, this isn't as heavy as you think it is. And that's how people are pitching Andor, that they're like, well, watch it because it's just good TV. It's all good TV.
I love that we can get this animated about animated Star Wars. I wish we had more animated Star Wars to talk about.
Maybe we just need a Michael Bay blockbuster trailer to sell the series a little bit.
From the studio that brought you Andor, am I right?
Yeah, you are right. Yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to Krypton to Alderaan. I'm Joey, your Star Wars lover. And with me is Royce Goodlooks, your Star Wars song guy.
Hello, Joey. Hello, podcast.
Hello. And we're the podcast that analyzes nerdy pop culture, but it's mostly Star Wars. And today will be no different because we have not yet had the opportunity to talk about Tales of the Underworld. We know that it's not maybe necessarily the most clickbaity thing at the moment or top of everyone's mind, but animated Star Wars is kind of our thing, kind of our jam. Is that fair to say? I think that's fair to say at this point. Do you think so, Royce?
Jam is the perfect word for it, yeah.
Yeah. So we wanted to make this episode. And, you know, we've gotten a lot more subscribers since very recently, but also certainly since the last Tales thing came out. Which one was that? Tales of the Empire. Even since then, we've gotten a lot more subscribers. So audience, we'd love to hear what you think about the Tales series in general. And if you want to be more specific, what you thought of Tales of the Underworld, Cad Bane, and Asajj Ventress's arcs in this. I wanted to start this way because I think we go into things like this with a lot of like personal feelings and expectations, especially if we're seeing characters that we know, and we want to see if we know that we're going to be seeing characters that we know, I should say, that we want to know more of their story, or we want to know where we left off with them, or if we haven't heard from them in 10 years, like with Barriss Offee's character in Tales of the Empire. So I think like we are, a lot of the Star Wars fans, maybe the ones more steeped in the canon, are probably more like predisposed to being drawn to a certain arc. So we're going into these episodes with a certain amount of expectation because we're already connected to those characters, and simply because we just want to see more of a certain character. So with that, Royce, did you have expectations going into this particular version of Tales with Cad Bane or Ventress's specific arcs?
Yeah, I'm picking up the pain that you're putting down of like, oh, but I love these characters. If it's Ahsoka or whoever, that means a lot to you. And when I see Asajj Ventress, like the last time that she popped up in a property, you were like, you had done your reaction video to the Bad Batch, and you're like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Asajj, like, okay, I worry, like all the people that are into her, like, how are they going to feel? And Cad Bane, same thing. He's got a history. How are people going to feel? Me personally, I don't know them that well from the Clone Wars. I literally only know those characters from the Bad Batch. And I love them in the Bad Batch. That episode with Asajj, like training Omega, is awesome. And I forget exactly what Cad Bane does, but you know, he's just your classic bounty hunter guy. So like going into the Tales of the Underworld, I love this format. I love that it's just like these bite-sized adventures with like kind of random characters. For those of you that are steeped in the canon, maybe it's not random, but to me, we just kind of pick up a random character and we explore a couple little cute stories, and it's a bite-sized adventure, and it's perfect to me for like the May 4th Star Wars celebration, which is when I watched it. I'm sure a lot of people watched it when it came out. I didn't watch any other Star Wars on May the 4th. I didn't like watch every single movie. Like Tales was my May the 4th celebration. I also love it for that. Like that's going to be I would like that to be my tradition now that this is 3 years out, right? I didn't go in with expectations of like, this is what I need to see. I'm just here for the Star Wars. I just think they're neat. I don't know if I was like looking forward to one more than the other, but I will say like, I love the Western, like gangster kind of vibe of Cad Bane's story. That kind of spoke to me a little bit more than like the young Jedi with Asajj. And I don't really know a lot about Asajj. So I just went in happy to enjoy it. And I did. It was a little weird that it's sandwiched in between the heaviness of Andor and like That's why we're talking about it now, because we waited till Andor was over and we finally recovered from all of our thoughts and feelings from that. Yeah, dude, this was like the least heavy I've been coming into a property. I feel like I steamrolled a lot here, but like I'm feeling great. So let's bring it back to Joey World. How are you feeling about it?
I have a lot of feelings about it, but I think it's pretty cool that your like expectations did not get in the way.
I calibrated my enthusiasm.
Yes, perfect. I thought we were done with Andor. I think like obviously I've watched all of the Clone Wars multiple times, and so I'm very familiar with these characters, and they popped up in the Bad Batch, like you said. It's great that none of that stuff got in your way. I remember we had this conversation a couple of years ago when the first season of the Bad Batch came out and the first season of Visions came out, and we had like a canon conversation, and it's great to not get bogged down in that kind of stuff. So I was expecting, honestly, when we started to approach this, I was expecting you to say, hey, Cad Bane, I love Cad Bane, I don't care about Ventress. So I was really looking forward to the Cad Bane episode. So you, right now, subverted my expectations in a very meta way. I think it's also great that you're like focusing on, you love the format of it. It's consumable bite-sized chunks of content, which I would argue that all animated Star Wars is. Just go watch animated Star Wars. It's very consumable. But that the format of the show itself and that it's like become a May the 4th tradition is a great way to look at this all. I, unfortunately, got bogged down on what I've wanted to see going along with what I love about Star Wars, what makes Star Wars special to me, copyright pending, Krypton to Alderaan. I have gone into every Tales series, every version of Tales with an expectation because I love Ahsoka. Ahsoka's one of my favorite Star Wars characters. If not my favorite Star Wars character, it maybe sometimes goes back and forth. Either way, she's up there. Barriss Offee, I waited 10 years to see what happened to Barriss. And with this one, I love Ventress. Ventress is also top tier, S tier Star Wars character for me. So the excitement of seeing those stories, and I read the Ahsoka book also, and that was what, part of that was in that arc. All of that gets wrapped up in my expectations. For this series, I think that this was the first one, Tales of the Underworld is the first one that actually met me there.
Mets or exceeds.
Like I went in with expectations, and this is kind of what I'm talking about. Like we're so predisposed, we go in with expectations. Hey, that's my favorite character. And we see the other one, like the Dooku one, and it's just kind of maybe a little bit more interesting and there's more backstory there. And whether it's because we set ourselves up, like we already put it on a pedestal, I was already excited for it. And it didn't live up to that, so the Dooku one just ended up being, better in my mind. I don't know. But the Ventress one, I was just so excited to see Ventress. I loved the story that they told with it. It felt like it began somewhere and went somewhere, very personal and meaningful, and I was very excited to see that. And I just did not feel the same way about the Cad Bane episodes. I love both of these characters. I think they're just such cool, deep, rich, especially in the Clone Wars, bad guy characters. Ventress has had an incredible arc through all of that led her to what this is. But my point is, sometimes expectations get in the way, but they didn't this time. This time it paid off.
Yeah.
For me, at least.
So it's not that you didn't like the Cad Bane one, that just wasn't speaking to you as much as Asajj's story?
Yeah, there was a lot. There was some stuff that I actively did not like about the Cad Bane episodes, and I feel like there were moments of the Cad Bane episodes that were left out that would have pushed the story a lot. There were story beats that I felt were missed, whereas the Asajj one, we saw like kind of a complete story, not really any time jumps between the 3 episodes, whereas we see obviously time jumps with the Cad Bane ones, and there's a beginning and an end. And we follow them through that, and we understand what the characters went through. We understand the characters' motivations, how those motivations changed in those 3 episodes. I feel that a lot of that was left out from the Cad Bane episodes.
Yeah, dude, maybe not expectations, but just taste in general. I think this is a classic divide of Joey loves a good found family story in his Star Wars. And the fact that Lyco doesn't get on the ship And then there's the teasing dialogue of like, did you miss the ship? Like, we don't really know what went on there. But now he's back with Asajj. Like, that's a cute little bow on the end of that. And they can be buddies and they can like force train. I don't know how that syncs up with or I guess that's maybe much before Bad Batch, if that's like right after she comes back to life. I don't know anything about her canon. I wanted to ask you, like, is this your Asajj? I need to know more about that. But point being, you love the found family, like, let's all get along, redemption arc, like, reluctant parent figure. And I love, like, the Breaking Bad epic crime drama. And I also love the found family. But I think that the Cad Bane story, like, really hit for me. You saying it's not a like complete story, like, dude, that was one BBY, 2 BBY. That had chapters to it. That was like less bite size, in my opinion. Like, they were bites of like the episodes, right? But that felt pretty complete to me. And I enjoyed that just from a genre perspective. And I did like Asajj's arc, but that was a little bit more like happy-go-lucky. And then you had Cad's, which was not happy-go-lucky. And that is, again, why people need to not sleep on Tales of the Underworld. The poetry of like the themes intertwining a little bit, but being opposite sides of the same coin is another special thing about the Tales of the Underworld series, that like maybe you don't know these two characters, but if you sit through both arcs, you can compare and contrast them. And I really do like that. And again, I think like if you're on May the 4th and you're having a party, like, and you're introducing some people to Star Wars, like, you don't have to be steeped in the canon to appreciate this little like bundle of stories they've given you. And that to me makes it more meaty than just like, well, how are they tying this in with Asajj? And who's Asajj's boyfriend, the Jedi?
Quinlan Voss.
Quinlan, yeah, who starts the path. And you're like, there's a lot there that you could get hung up on as a canoniphile, where you're like, no, it's about Asajj like becoming friends with this youngling and like raising him now, and showing him a better way. And then the opposite with Cad, of him just becoming a curmudgeon. So I'm going on too long, but I love that, Joey. I love it.
I have so much to say. I also love it. I think what we are touching on here is something that, like, up at the top of the episode, I described animated Star Wars as our jam. This is why. Because we get animated about animated Star Wars. Andor was great. The end. I mean, it was great. We're going to talk about it forever. We're going to point to it and talk about how great it was forever. We just get so excited about animated Star Wars, and like you're saying with some of this, like you could just sit down and watch it. The problem is that still to this day, a lot of people don't want to watch it. Like if you throw it on at a party with people who aren't steeped in the canon of Star Wars, they're not going to watch it because it's animated. And that's a bummer, because it's really, really good. And the best Star Wars is animated Star Wars, copyright pending, Krypton to Alderaan. And so I love that we can get this animated about animated Star Wars. I wish we had more animated Star Wars to talk about. Back to the episode, though, I love that each of these arcs mirror each other.
Right.
Like Ahsoka and Dooku, yep, they mirror each other. Morgan Elsbeth and Barriss, yep, they mirror each other. The same is true with Cad Bane and Ventress, for sure, just like you're saying. What I also love that I think maybe they're setting up for the future a little bit here is that this really solidified for me how much Ventress's story mirrors Maul's story. We know we're going to get more Maul, and I think that like just their comparison, I love the comparison between her and Cad Bane. But the comparison between her and Maul is something that I hope we see more of in the future. And these 3 episodes really solidified that for me. Whereas she is traveling the redeemed path, Maul goes much further down into the darkness than she does. But I love that. And we know Shadow Lord is coming out, and maybe we'll see her in that. I do love the found family. That is something that is like, again, S tier, makes Star Wars special for me. But what was the most beautiful thing about these episodes, the Ventress episodes, the shining star for me was Lyko. I didn't trust him at first, thought maybe something weird was going on, but the more like that was done in the first episode. And I just loved that kid for a lot of reasons. And I think like Ventress was always like giving him grief about, not laying low, not being a good enough fighter, but it was just so great to see in this timeline. We get a little bit of canonophilia here, but in this timeline, seeing a Jedi, he grew up being trained to be a Jedi the way that I think the Jedi should and were supposed to be. He's a peace mediator. He's trusting. He's kind. He's empathetic. He's seeking friends like from Ventress, but also in like the most unlikely people and places. He brokers peace between the old man separatist. I mean, Ventress does a little bit too, but between the old man separatist and the raiders whose water the old man is stealing, right? And he's not a good fighter most of the time. And he doesn't want to lay low because he wants to be out there. He wants to be in the front of things, making things better for people out in the galaxy. That's what I want to see. That's what I think the Jedi are supposed to be. And it was great seeing him being trained that way. And maybe if we see them again, we will be hopefully see how much the master has learned from the apprentice. I think he has a lot to teach her, and we see him teach her over those 3 episodes. And we see that, by the end when she is working with like the old man separatist and the quote unquote raiders to fix that problem. I love that. That's what I love about those episodes. And you're right. Like the Cad Bane episodes were a little bit more gritty and crime, which is, Tales of the Underworld. That's what it is. There were just some beats that I think were missed that would have made it better for me. But this is like what I'm saying. Like I was expecting to like the Ventress episodes more, and this one paid off for me.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I don't know what you're saying is missing from Cad Bane's story. I don't know if you can like pinpoint exactly what might have made it work more for you, but I get that that's not your genre. And that's, again, like, that's okay. There's plenty of other Star Wars, and they gave you, what you wanted within this anyway. And I think that's another powerful thing of this, like, 2 sides of the same coin.
I loved the first episode of the Cad Bane arc when they're kids and everything that goes down when they're kids and meeting Laszlo and stuff. The time jumps are what kind of messes things up for me. We don't get to like see Cad Bane become the quick draw sharpshooter, slick shot guy that we see him become, or like the criminal mastermind bounty hunter. We kind of skip those. Like he goes to prison and then he gets out of prison and he's kind of good at some of that stuff already. We skip that, and maybe that wasn't the point of the story. And I missed something maybe, but to see him become the criminal, the bounty hunter that we see in the Clone Wars, to the point where his clone kill count probably is second only to battle droids of that era. He's like very good at what he does, and what he does is not very nice. And that's what I wanted to see him become. Again, like I am front loading it. I front loaded it with my expectations.
Yeah.
So skipping over a lot of those things was kind of what hurt it for me. And in the Bad Batch, he tells Hunter, I've taken down so many clones over the years. Once you figure out one, the rest are easy. Like he's smart. He tests things. He's tactical. He makes plans. He figures stuff out. And I didn't see that in those. And I know he's got like growing to do. It's not like the end of the story. We know the rest of Cad Bane's story. That was another part of it. Like Ventress, this is like, we're treading new ground here. Cad Bane, we're kind of like in between things, and we see him then go throughout the Clone Wars and become the person that we see throughout that. But there was just a little bit of like, okay, how did he actually become this person that we see in the Clone Wars that I wanted to see in Tales that I didn't get to see?
Hey, I'm all here for it if they want to do a whole series on Cad Bane, because I think that would be cool. Let's do like animation. Oh, it's for kids. Like, no, let's do a really gritty backstory on Cad Bane. You already did. Like, that was a pretty brutal story. So I'm here for that. If we want to see like how he becomes like the quick draw, that would be fun to see. I'm down for that. I loved the music in Cad Bane's episode as well. And maybe this played a role to it, but it was heavy-handed for like, I don't know, 30 minutes of footage total that they had for the episodes, They played the wow, 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 wow 1,000 times. They just riffed on that theme, but it really did fit for him. And it was on like a dobro, like never really heard that sort of sound like prominently featured in Star Wars, if at all, this like swampy, like Southern guitar, slide guitar. And that was also like really working for me. And they had the classic like Doo-doo-doo. I was going to try to whistle it, but
the Western.
I can't whistle right now. Doo-doo-doo. Yeah, classic, another like Western kind of melody motif that you hear when there's going to be a standoff. So I was going to say that those were subliminal, but they were very like forefront, like in the mix. Like there's not a lot of dialogue, but there's this music of people like they're walking around and that music's in the background helping to set the scene. And so that also really worked for me. I can't really whistle you the music from Ventress's episodes, but I did take a note that there was mandolin in them. So there was somebody like experimenting with the like instrumentation behind the arrangements of the music in both of these arcs. We forget to talk about the music every now and then, even though we both really love the music.
I will have to watch it again, even to see what the Ventress music is like and how it's like reacting to her more somberness that we see from Ventress at this point in time versus like Cad Bane's the beginning of Cad Bane's journey. We always end up talking about how important animation is, how it's still kind of stigmatized. If you were to put this on at a party, how do you pitch watching animated Star Wars? How would you go about it? Because we are like, sometimes when we do this on Krypton to Alderaan, I know we have a lot of people out there who also love animated Star Wars. And it doesn't necessarily feel as much like shouting into a void as it used to when we would talk about animation, or even in the more recent past, honestly, trying to get you to watch animation or the Clone Wars. So like, how did you make the leap, and how would you like pitch it? I think like Star Wars animation is very important, and if you're not watching it, you're missing out, but no one likes it when I say that.
Yeah. Well, so I don't know if like me personally will be the best case for everybody, because I've kind of been a slow burn into it. But yeah, if you're at the party, I think the pitch is not quite the pitch that you might have made in the past of like, hey, I don't understand this one random thing in the live action show. Okay, well then watch the Clone Wars. Yeah. Yeah. Reaction GIF. Perfect. I think it's not quite that. It's more like, do you want to watch Star Wars? Let's watch this series. It's like a really short series, and it's one contained adventure that, yeah, it does tie into other properties, and like you could go really crazy, but it's actually self-contained, and it's two self-contained properties that you can compare and contrast. It's like a double-sided album, and you don't have to be concerned with how it fits in to Rebels and Clone Wars and Bad Batch unless you want to, especially like Cad Bane's thing. Like, maybe this is an asterisk because I am familiar with some of the other stuff, but I haven't seen all of Clone Wars. I'm not a Clone Wars stan, but I am an animation stan. That's maybe how I would pitch it, is like, this isn't as heavy as you think it is. And that's how people are pitching Andor, that they're like, well, watch it because it's just good TV. It's all good TV, you know?
Correct.
But it all can tie into more stuff if you want it to. And I think maybe the animation probably suffers that more than any of the other series, because you have to like look past it being animation and thinking that's for kids, which is dumb, but that's still part of it. Like that's always going to be part of it. That's how I might pitch it. I don't know. Does that make sense to you? What do you think about that?
I think it does make sense, and it sounds like it's probably better than the way I do it, which is at this point in my life, just watch it. Just watch the thing. It's a half an hour cartoon. The easiest thing, it's all you watched when you were a kid. It's the easiest thing in the world to watch. Just watch it.
Yes.
That's my thing.
It's a Sunday morning cartoon. That's exactly like, I didn't put this in my notes, but that's how I was thinking about this, of like, if it was like a weekly show that you're like, yeah, this week we went on an adventure with Cad Bane, and next week it's going to be somebody else random, and it's just fun. I just like this show. Again, it can tie into all the other Star Wars, but it doesn't have to. It can just be that one. Remember how Cad Bane became Cad Bane? And even though they left out a lot of details in between, like, that's the story. And like, he's got a kid out there. Like, right. It leaves all these other breadcrumbs if you wanted to explore further. I don't know if that's explored in any other property yet, or if it will be, but that's part of the fun.
The kid thing is not explored in any other property, but the point, another point there is that there are mature themes if you're looking for mature themes and start like, it doesn't all have to be like Andor heavy live action. A lot of the stuff in the Cad Bane arc here is pretty heavy. You know, there's a lot of complicated relationships and violence, and, you know, maybe you don't like watching that stuff in general, in which case don't watch. But the point is, it's not like a little kids, quote unquote, little kids show. There is something for everyone here. there is something for someone of all ages here, people of all ages. That's another maybe point to add to this. Help us come up with ways to pitch Star Wars animation, audience. Let's get working on that together.
It's prestige drama.
From the creators of live action Star Wars brings you animated Star Wars, and sometimes it's better.
Maybe we just need a Michael Bay blockbuster trailer with some generic rock and roll music to sell the series a little bit. Yeah. I mean, maybe that's it. It could just be a marketing thing, you know?
Yeah. From the studio that brought you Andor. Am I right?
Yeah, you are right. Yeah. All right, I have a couple of... Can I give some rapid fire questions to you?
Let's do some rapid fire. Pew, 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 pew.
Tales or Visions?
Ooh. Oh,
is this
rapid fire? How
might be a whole other episode?
I think it would be interesting to do an episode about stuff like this. But I'm going to have to go with Visions. I probably would not have said this a couple of years ago, but my perception or like the way I engage with this content has changed so much over the past couple of years. Thanks to you, thanks to our amazing listeners and audience. Like, I have really opened up a lot more from like, I was in my own little Star Wars box of canon, and I have grown so much past that I think at this point I would say Visions, because I love animation. I love it. I would die for animation, and I love Star Wars animation. And having something that's a different story every episode and a different animation style every episode, and there's not one episode that I would not watch again, even Tatooine Rhapsody. So I think that like overall there, it's much more intriguing to me. It's much more engaging to me. I don't want to like pit these things against each other, but overall for me, I have liked Visions more than I have liked Tales.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah.
What about you?
For me, I think I would have said Visions a year ago, but now I think Tales. I would rank that a little bit higher.
We flipped.
Yeah, I appreciate them both for different reasons, but the fact that it does tie into canon, like maybe this does flip-flop my reasoning from last year, but it's nice that it leads the breadcrumbs, but it's this short little story. And Visions is short little stories, but it doesn't leave breadcrumbs anywhere. I guess the next season, we're going to do some follow-up episodes, so maybe I can eat my words when that comes out. Like maybe that will change my opinion. But that would be my one gripe with Visions, is that we haven't done follow-ups yet on some of the episodes. And maybe now that we're going to do that again, my opinion will change. Whereas Tales, it can just be standalone, but it can like spread out. Visions is like, oh, I really like that story. We might not get any more. And that's really special. But then that's also a little bit of a bummer. It seems like we're going to get more, so you can throw this whole opinion out. But that's kind of how I think I would rate them right now. That I like maybe Tales a little bit more than Visions.
That's really interesting. Not the answer I expected from either of us, honestly. I think in my mind, we've taken each other's side here.
And I love both. I don't mean to say like one's like sucks and the other's great.
You got more rapid fire questions?
These are maybe kind of perfunctory, but like what Tales do we want to see next? Is there one like top of mind?
There are a couple of characters that definitely come to mind. First of all, it would be really cool to just go to an entirely different era of Star Wars to tell some of these stories. Let's go to the High Republic. Let's go to the future, the new Jedi Order stuff. But that being said, General Grievous, high up on my list. Very high up on my list for this being the perfect format media to tell his story, which we haven't. I don't know if there's a lot of in-canon backstory for Grievous. So this would be perfect. He's predominantly animated character at this point. It would just be great to see his backstory, who he was, why it all happened, you know, that fearsome fighter warrior getting turned into this machine to be used by Count Dooku.
Wow.
That's at the top of my list for sure.
That could be pretty interesting and dark and meaty. I like that. Yeah, I could be into that. Man, I haven't really thought about it, but yeah, High Republic, dude, especially with like maybe not getting any more Acolyte. I would love to go back to the High Republic. I'm probably not going to read the books. I would love for you to tell me about what happens in them.
I will.
Over a beer someday, but or on a podcast. I want to go back to that era. Like we just got a taste of it. And then it was like taken away, you know? And so just what I'm saying with like Visions is you're like, no, we're just getting started. So Sure. I would absolutely love to go see Vernestra and Khmer. Like maybe that's in a book, maybe not, but maybe that could be a little animated thing. And that actually would be a great way to appease all the Acolyte fans that aren't getting anything, right? Let's put it into this animated show that the live action people that are haters aren't going to watch anyway. So give that to us, right?
Yes, 100% yes.
Maybe we need to start a petition. I rather like that idea.
Yeah.
Or Soul, or, even what's the little guy that sniffs out things? Like,
Yeah. Oh.
it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember it. Anyway, yeah, High Republic. I don't know. We've joked about the Gungans. Like the Gungan underworld could be really, like their underwater world could be really cool in animation. I don't know if that's in Clone Wars or not, but like, that could be cool.
I think we'll probably get Tales of the Sith, Tales of the Dark Side, Tales of the Light Side. I think those are probably all contenders.
Tales of the Rebels.
Yeah, Tales of the Rebellion, Tales of
the Moisture Farmers.
The First Order, etc. Tales of the Kids Left Behind, and we do one on Cad Bane Kid and one on Cassian Andor's Kid.
Tales of the Orphans.
Tales of the Broom Boy.
Oh, yeah, I love it. This is great. All right, I have one more rapid fire.
Yeah, let's
and then maybe we can bring this home. What about live action Tales? Why is animation the only thing reserved for this?
Yeah, good question. I have a lot of feelings about it, but I don't know if I can articulate it other than like, I would really love for some stuff to remain animation and some stuff
Sacred.
to remain live action. A lot of these like live action version of animated movies has gotten me feeling a certain way about things that I think takes away or fuels some of the stigma about animation. Like, we have to make it live action so that someone watches instead of trying to figure out a way to get people to watch animation. Maybe it's never going to work. Maybe all the marketing people have already figured out that that's not how it works. But there is something about it that I feel similarly about Visions as well. Like, man, making a live action version will feel to me like some of the magic is being taken away. And like we've talked about so much already, you can do so much more in animation. There's so much more freedom in animation, again, to do what you want to do, but also we're not going to be looking at a person on screen, a live action person, and thinking, oh, that's impossible. Oh, that wouldn't work that way. I've tried to describe this before, and uncanny valley is not the right way to say it. We're okay with a lot more happening in animation because we're not seeing like a live human being in that role. So when they're doing stuff or when there's action or when there's like movement or physicality, we don't have a disconnect. We just think, oh, that looks super cool. So you have a lot more opportunity to love animation. This would make we should stow this away. I think you have a lot more opportunity to love animation than you do live action. So there.
Put the title on the episode. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think it would be cool if there were like short films, maybe not films. I don't know what you would call it. 12 minutes long. That's a short film, right? Why not? Like,
yeah.
I see fan films on YouTube, and like there's a huge community around that people are like, this is awesome. I love this. And it's like a Jedi fighting somewhere you've never seen them fighting before. And or just TIE fighters and X-Wings and whatever. Maybe it changes the whole production aspect of it. But as per usual, you've sold me on the like, well, we got to keep this special. And so animation, like you said, it gets different freedom. It hits on a different level.
Animation can be its own thing and live action can be its own thing. If you want to watch How to Train Your Dragon, watch the animated movie because it's perfect. And so, I hate it when people say, we don't need this, or we don't need a live action, or we don't need XYZ. I mean, we don't need any of this. We don't, like, I would still live if there were no Star Wars. I don't need it in order for anything. But there is something there. There is a feeling in me that just wants the animated stuff to stay the animated stuff. But you actually turned me around a little bit. Like, there are these fan films on YouTube, and maybe it would be cool to like, getting more Star Wars content would not be bad. So maybe getting like Tales of the live action Star Wars would be okay.
Hey, people went crazy that The Acolyte had such a huge budget. Like, okay, do a 12-minute episode and make it freaking awesome, right? I'd be here for it. I don't know. We threw out a lot of crazy ideas. So listeners, we would love to keep this conversation going. Answer all of our crazy questions in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you, and make sure to subscribe and tune in next time for more nerdy pop culture, but mostly Star Wars. Thanks for watching the show today. I've been Royce.
I've been Lyco.
And we've been Krypton to Alderaan.
Duros?
Krypton to Alderaan. Krypton to Alderaan.
Is that where Cad Bane is from? I think.
To a prison in the Outer Rim.